We are live. I see it we're up.
Right. We're up and going. Well, thank you very much for being a part of our conversation today. I'm Peter DeRosa, president of MyDebt Cloud and DeRosa Associates, and I'm very pleased to be able to join Michelle today and talk about being able, what's a realistic expectation and time horizon for paying off your debts. Michelle, thank you very much for inviting me on today.
No problem, Peter. I'm glad to do this. This is one of my passions is trying to help people get out of debt. So I think it's very important with everything that's going on today. I mean, inflation's out of control, so people are putting more and more money on credit cards. Well, the way to deal with that credit card situation is to absolutely pay it off, and not only your credit cards, not only your cars, but also your mortgage. So that's what I like to do, help people to prepare for retirement.
I too like to work with people in that arena. And I'll tell you, the biggest challenge that we have seen, and it's probably been over the last 7, 8 years, is just people don't have extra money for anything. And so oftentimes financial professionals sit down with them and they try and convince them to invest, 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 and somehow invest and everything else will take care of the rest. I mean, that's selling hopium, that's selling a dream. It's not a very practical reality. And I know there's a whole lot of people in that regulators even that push for this whole concept of investing. But really, the reality is there is another way. Getting ahead today, you only get ahead by like earning extra money, or you have to have such massive consistent gains that are impossible to guarantee every month. The other way you can get ahead is by actually keeping or retaining more of the dollars that you bring in, right? And that's really what we're talking about doing with debt elimination.
Right. The thing about it is when you're talking about a credit card, you're typically talking at least over 20%. Now, how many people are making a 20% return on their money? There's not a lot of consistency in that. I mean, typically people talk about the S&P maybe making 10 to 12%. At, well, you're running a deficit. You are running a deficit if you have credit card debt. And, some of the things that have changed is now people are having a tremendously hard time even acquiring a house, the down payment for a house, but that's because they have debt in other areas. So let's eliminate those areas, take whatever you're putting on your debt, add that together and see how much money that you could be saving. That's one of the things I like to share with people because even if you only put a half to two-thirds of that money towards, whatever your goal is, it's a huge amount of money. And I just think you can totally get ahead by doing stuff like that.
You're correct. I mean, nobody is having a 20% return month after month after month for 5 years, 10 years, however long they've been paying on their credit cards. That's just impossible for that consistent return to exist at that level. Or if you are receiving that kind of return, you're obviously doing something in the gray. We'll just put it that way. But, people, oftentimes I will talk with people, and I know you probably get the same thing. And I ask them, well, how much debt do you have? Do you have a lot of debt? And that's such a relative question relative to the person's own finances. How much is too much? $1 more than I have to pay, in my opinion, uh, and $1 more in interest than I have to pay. And for a lot of people, like you said, they don't have a lot of extra anywhere to be able to apply towards their debts. But even a little bit with a plan and a purpose goes a long way as opposed to just randomly throwing a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's really, I know, with the system that you've been working with, that's really a big part of what you do.
Yes, we develop a plan. Let me just say and open it up. And I know you see down below where it says how you can get in touch with me. Go to my website or give me a call, and you're more than welcome to do that. But this is the thing: is uh, eh, you know, let me address something before I go there. I think people hesitate talking about their debt because they're embarrassed. And I really want to say, don't be embarrassed at your debt, because there's a lot of people that uh, friends and family, that also have those same problems and they don't want to deal with it. So if you have a desire to deal with your problem, then let's take a look at it. Let's look at an education about we give a free educational webinar, show you how it works, see if it fits in within what you're doing, and give you a set plan that will help you get out of debt much sooner than you think is possible. I mean, a lot of people are amazed at how quickly they can actually get out of debt. Um, Actually 2 to 3 times faster than most any other type of plan that you might try to put
And why
together.
is that, Michelle? Why is it faster? Can you explain why it's faster?
Well, it's simply the fact that, y you y well, first of all, let's say this: you have a specific plan that we developed to put you on to keep you on track, and, we can go back and address things that you do, like I had talked to a guy that he just bought a new car. Okay, well, that's a new debt that you have to address. So you have to readjust everything and go back and do it. But 2 to 3 times faster, because, what are you making on your checking account interest? Zero. So, 2 to 3 times faster, because we can show you how to hold that money in a place where you can get 2 to 3 times more, that you can have access to the money, liquidity. And, those are the important things, as far as I can tell you, is it's way, way quicker than you would ever anticipate, because we do have a plan to show you how you can get through, your biggest problem, which is, I would say the biggest problem is people not wanting to pay off their mortgage. They've been sold a book of lies about, hey, don't pay off your mortgage too quickly. We can use that to make more money with, over here. But it's just typically not possible for the common man. Maybe for somebody who is a financial whiz, maybe they can do that, but it's for the common man whose, you know, only desire is to get ahead in retirement. This will show you how to get out of debt and eliminate that biggest. I mean, most people are unaware that you're paying 2 to 3 times what you initially borrowed in for your home, right? Imagine what it is for a credit card, though. It's way more than 2 to 3 times, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
So,
for a lot of people, they don't understand the difference between closed end or open ended loans and how those function and how people are actually, how interest is credited and charged to their account. And for most people, um, diving into all the details, while for some it's important, the most important part that can be said about paying off your debts is formulating a plan and sticking to it. It doesn't matter if you follow some of the other radio personalities plans out there. You can eat beans and rice and really,
most people
you
don't
know,
like to eat beans and rice all the time, though, Peter. That's one of the drawbacks of getting out of debt with beans and rice. That's one of them. Now, the other thing is, of course, yes, you may need a bigger shovel where you need to grow your income, and that is, of course, absolutely you need to do that. But let's show you a place where you can actually, within your own budget, what you're doing right now, not having to get the bigger income or having to eat the beans and rice, show you a plan that we can still get you out of debt 2 to 3 times quicker.
So
That's
what's the secret weapon, Michelle? Obviously, you've got some stuff. You're just giving us little bites here and there. But could you give us an example or lay it out how this, what is your secret weapon? What works here?
well, some people are going to. It's adding one more financial product to what you are doing now. And sometimes, depending on the age, you could add two financial products. And I would love to talk about that as well. For those people that are baby boomers, 60 years old, and really wanting to have, that would be an area where they may want to add two financial products. But the one financial product that you use is the whole life contract. And it's not just for a death benefit, it is used because it has certain characteristics that a lot of people are unaware of, where you can use the money to store the money. It's going to grow tax deferred, and then you can access the money tax deferred, and you can actually, easily get out of a lot of debt rather quickly, depending on your situation. I mean, we would have to look at your situation, um, but depends on how much you are trying to get out of debt and how quickly you want to do that. We can show you those types of things.
So what you just said is very interesting because for a lot of people, they go, "Oh, life insurance. Wait a minute, this is just another scam to sell life insurance." But what most people are not familiar with is two terms that exist in the financial industry. One is called BOLI, and the other one is MOLI. So BOLI is
Holy
bank-owned.
moly moly!
Yeah, moly moly. Bank-owned life insurance and municipality-owned life insurance. There's
Yes,
actually two forms of insurance, exactly like you're talking about, that are the financial backbones of both banks and municipalities as the cash holdings vehicle for them to do their business with. So it holds cash in these accounts. They're typically on the lives of the executives or employees, and they use this account just like you just described to be like a cash slush fund to help pay down because they have guaranteed rates of return. In fact, they're limited by the Federal Reserve as to how much the banks and the municipalities are legally allowed to hold in those accounts. Otherwise, they put a whole lot more,
right.
but they're actually capped. So I find it very interesting. You're talking about a method that is, well, if you're in the financial world, you've heard about these before because this is one of the assets that's on the books for both banks and corporations and municipalities.
Yes, and a lot of people do not realize that banks own a lot of life insurance. That's something that they're unaware of. But there's a reason why the banks have big, huge, nice buildings, and you don't necessarily see a lot of people in and out of the banks. But they're using your money, and you have to borrow at 7-8% sometimes, and they're going to pay you on your money 4 or 5%. That's called arbitrage. So they're going to use that little bit of money, and it's somewhat the same type of principle, I would say. Would you not, Peter? As far as called the arbitrage that you have in your whole life account, you're using that little bit of arbitrage amount, the difference between what you have to have for the life insurance to have the life insurance in place, and the cash value that is building up to go out and pay down all your debts. And it's simple. It's the same type of principle of rolling up your debts like a snowball debt elimination type process, but you're using the whole life contract to hold that extra 200 to however much, thousand, $1,500 a month that you want to apply towards your debt. It depends. We can work. What would you say, Peter? What would be the least amount of money that they would need in excess to have that arbitrage? I mean, typically
Well,
speaking, you need at least probably maybe $200, wouldn't you say? Or
it just depends on the situation. Most of these accounts, though, there's different types of accounts. And I know both with the ones that we're talking about here, that the focus is really to do what's called OPM. And we're going to use other people's money. So we actually post whatever is the value of the cash as collateral and take a loan from the insurance company. So
Hold
it's a
on a
little,
second. Let me explain something to the folks out there. There's one thing that you need to understand is you can use the insurance company's money, and yet your money is still earning interest. And that's one of the powerful tools of using whole life insurance. Well, we're using whole life because it's a guaranteed contract, but there's other life insurance like, the other types of, universal life or whatever. Also have that principle as far as you can use, you can take the money out, use it the way you need to use by borrowing from the insurance company, and it's what you're saying, collateralized, which means it's backed up by what, the death benefit, and
it's
they can
actually
always
backed
have.
up by the cash value of the contract. So whatever the cash is, it's
But I
like a
thought
collateralized
the
loan.
death benefit came into play too. It would reduce it by the death benefit. If you were to pass away, they would take
Correct.
what you
So
owed from the death benefit. But I mean, the cash value is building up inside the contract for either one of those. But the reason we use the whole life contract is because it is guaranteed. And uh, there's, favorable um, borrowing that you have access to when you use the whole life contract as well, correct?
yeah, probably this is one of the areas people overlook is that you because it's a collateralized loan that's posted, there's no credit check. There's no
Right.
requirements. You don't have to file documents to get access to those funds.
And that's another reason why a lot of business owners should be taking advantage of this type of contract is because, you know, if you're overextended as a business owner, they're not going to give you any loans. But if you have the cash value built up in a whole life policy, you can have access to whatever's in that cash value to borrow against that. So, very important, especially for business owners. And business owners have debt too, and we can show you how to eliminate that, to reduce that debt, and have more, what, 30% higher cash flow, typically speaking.
Yeah, on right now in America, there's about 200 million Americans that are struggling because of the power of debt. There's about it's about 80% of business owners who make less than $1 million a year who have most of their wealth locked up in their businesses, and they're continually, they're trying to keep up with trends and all the changes in technology, and that's causing them to finance advances in equipment or technologies or in um, just operating costs. So we figure between 30 and 40% of the operating budgets of small businesses are all tied up with some form of debt. And so if they free up that money, you're talking about freeing up 30 to 40% additional cash flow for the business owner simply by tackling the issue of debt.
Which that would absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about 100,000, let's do some calculating here. 100,000, $1 million. Just looking at $1 million business times 30%, that's $300,000, 300 to $400,000 a year. That's a lot of money. And guess what? If you have $300,000, it doesn't take very long to have some money that you can accumulate for your retirement. And I mean, one of the biggest problems with business owners, especially small business owners, is they have the business, but they're not it's not a liquid. It is not a liquid thing that they can necessarily sell quickly and easily so that they can cash in. And they're thinking that they're building this business in the anticipation of, okay, I can sell this at retirement and I'll be fine. Well, the problem with that is you may not have been able to get the other money that you need for your retirement, and you're depending on that. And so you're stuck until you can sell that business. Now, how many people can, you know, are you familiar with Cody Sanchez? Do you know who she is? She talks a lot on YouTube about, small businesses, and talking about how business owners are willing to finance the sale of their business because they're boomers and they may not have had that retirement savings. Well, she's talking about they are trying to get out of the business and getting the cash, and this is one of the reasons why is because people did not they were putting all their money in the business and did not get the cash out of it. And this is how you can put cash in your small business, is doing this type of debt elimination. You had told me, can you tell me a little bit more about the guy that had was it a trucking company that he had, or was it, I can't remember. There was two small businesses. You tell me. I can't remember which one it
Yeah,
was.
just as an example of how the programs that we use and that you use are helping individuals. I've got a contractor works in the Nashville area, and the contractor, uh, we met and had a conversation, and asked him if I could show him a way to improve his cash flow by 30% if he would give me 45 minutes to show him how. And we were both waiting for people at the airport over there, so he had time. Um, Gotta love coffee shops.
You sure do.
Yeah. So we were there in a conversation, and I got his numbers, and we sat down and we reviewed it. And I showed him, look, right now you're overspending $3,400 a month trying to pay off your additional buildings, your PPP loan. You've got a lot of additional expenses right now. I said, what if I could show you with that $3,000 how you could actually pay all these things off in the next 5 years? And so when we went through all the numbers, it was 5.3 years, so 5 years and 3 months, for us to actually have everything paid off. And we're talking $1.7 million of total debts. The debt he owed to the SBA, the debt he owed to two buildings and a bunch of equipment. So he would be debt free 5.5 years and 3 months. And he was using $3,000 a month. He was currently spending $3,400 a month extra beyond the minimum
Payments.
requirements, the minimum payments. And that, so here's somebody that they're making a good bit of money, and they could, if they really wanted to, strap down all their expenses and really budget everything out line by line and pay their debts off. They could do it, but he wasn't going to. He needed really some hand holding and some tools in his tool belt to justify what he was doing. Another example, I worked with a trucker, a small business owner, $150,000 he owed on his truck. He had a house. He's got quite a few debts, right around $250,000 of debts on principal. We put the interest on there. He owes almost $500,000. And, that used to be not an issue for most truckers. They're making over $100,000 a year. But it seems since the pandemic, especially, a lot of truckers are deadheading. That's where they've got a load going out and they don't have a load coming back. And they have to pay for the fuel and the expenses to go from wherever they are to wherever the next load is. In his example, he had, the last couple of runs he made out to California, he had to basically deadhead all the way back to Chicago to find the next available load. That's a serious haul. That's a lot of fuel costs and wear and tear. And he still has a mortgage. He still has other things going on. So for him, being able to pay off his debts, and it was going to take him a little longer. It was going to take him about 6 years and 7 months to have all the debts paid off, but it was going to free up right around $2,300 a month for him and his wife. And for a small business owner, where every dollar counts, freeing up $2,300 a month, that's more than the truck payment. He was really happy about that. That's the house and the truck payment in one. So he frees that up, and he has that additional cash flow coming in. He can double up on the mortgage or the truck, or he's able to, buy another truck, maybe expand his business, buy rental properties, save for retirement, whatever he wants to do. It doesn't really matter what that money. But it really, we can help all kinds of business owners or individuals, whether
Well, I
they
mean,
are.
typically speaking, the average home mortgage in America is what, 250, $350,000 in a year, or a year?
It's now right at $350,000 for the average mortgage in this
So,
country.
so that is a lot of money, especially when you add the interest on top of that. And people will not believe it. They won't believe it at first, but I mean, we have the people that have gone through the program and completed it and gotten out of debt 2 to 3 times quicker. So if you have a 30-year mortgage, that means you could do it in, some people can do it in 10 years. correct? And some people can do it even shorter amounts of time. It depends on your income, it depends on what you're doing now, but we can show you how to do all of this without changing anything at all. You don't have to get a bigger income. You don't have to eat beans and rice. You come and take a look at the education, give us your numbers, and we'll be glad to show you what would be possible for you. That's the important thing. Check and see what is possible for you because everybody's numbers are different. So you can't compare yourself to other people. You've got to look and see what your numbers are. And then, you know, sure, it's a look and see. It's just like going, you know, you like a car, you want to buy a car, you can buy the car. Uh, it's that simple. But I mean, you got to see what your numbers are, and if you're serious about wanting to get out of debt, because I mean, according to what I was watching today on on TV with the on the financial markets, they were saying you had to have $17,000 more because of inflation. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, and when you eliminate the debt, then you're going to be able to afford more. And that's the bottom line. That's where we can help you. If you want some help, give me a call. Go to my website, give me a call, and I'll be glad to sit down. We'll do an educational event for you. Just simple stuff. Peter may even come back and be with us, right, Peter?
We'll see if that works out. For most people, I just want to end with two thoughts. One is, for most people, you need to familiarize yourself with the rule of 72.
Right.
Einstein came up with this. Any interest rate divided into 72 tells you how long it takes your money to double, or the buying power of your dollars to be cut in half. But this is important because when people are saying they're making a certain return in the marketplace, the deception that's there is that it's an average rate of return. An average rate of return is not your actual. That's where the rule of 72 comes in. Because if you're hearing that you're making a 20% or a 10% even return, then has your money doubled in the last 7 years? Not including your contributions, but just the money returns, right? For most people, that's not the case. And so I encourage people to understand the rule of 72 and apply it to your finances. And if you see that whatever you're doing is not living up to the returns that you were promised or that you believe that you should have, then you need to adjust. You need to stop doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You need to make some changes. And the other thing I want to say is this, that, listen, if you have been one of those individuals who's listened to some of these other conservative radio talk show hosts out there over the last 10, 15 years, odds are you're probably still in debt or you've incurred new debt since COVID. I would just say this. Listen, if we had the privilege of having you as a client, I feel 100% confident over the last 10 years or even 15, you would have been debt-free with us probably 7, 8 years ago. So for most people, it's time to engage. It's time to hold the hands of a financial professional who's willing to work with you, who does this on a daily basis. And Michelle certainly is one of those financial professionals who does this on a daily basis and can help you achieve the success and not just live off of a hope and a dream or listen to other people living vicariously through their testimonials on the radio. Don't just stop doing that. Let's see what we can do for you. Let's make a difference in your life. I just want to thank Michelle for allowing me to be a part of this today.
Well, let me say one other thing. Your money is going to go to either your lifestyle, what you want that you're consuming every day, or your money's going to go to taxes, or it's going to go to interest debt. What else is there?
Well, you got lifestyle, savings.
Savings, and most people are not saving enough money. But if you can eliminate that interest, then you can divide that between having a better lifestyle and saving more money. that you can be able to retire at an earlier age. I mean, a lot of people think they would like to retire early, and yet they're contributing to a 401k. Well, if you're contributing to a 401k, you're probably not going to be able to start accessing it before 59 and a half. The other part of this is you can use this contract for retirement that would be able to get you through up until 59 and a half, that you could use other assets as well. But I'm just saying there's possibilities that you haven't even thought of. And that's what we want to open your mind to, and just having just a new way to use an old financial product that has some guarantees.
Well, Michelle, I'm glad you brought that up, and if I may just go a couple minutes more, maybe.
That's fine. Go ahead, man.
A lot of people forget that, and it's probably because none of us were really alive at that time. Very few were left. That in the days of the Great Depression, that all the banks shut down for 2 years. All the banks.
Wow.
The only place that people could put money in, take money out, do loans, or have the capacity to do any kind of form of banking was through the life insurance companies, who had the mandatory requirements for people to be able to pay out all claims. They had to have $2 for every dollar of either cash value or for the death benefit. And so we're returning to an old system where, look, the last time the economy really got bad, these were the only companies that were left standing. All the other banks, they were all gone. They all, were consolidated and bought each other up. And that's where we got all the big conglomerates today that exist. But what got us through, what got the average American through, was not the big banks, because they closed their doors and refused to pay out. What got people through was the alternative banking and the alternative lending systems, the mortgage lending companies, the insurance companies. That's what got people through. And so that all we're doing is looking at, look, the banking system is having challenges today. All the top 12 banks right now are all on the red list. They all owe well over $150 trillion. Now, a lot of people don't understand that, but the 12 top banks in the United States owe $150 trillion right now. Now, they're hiding it behind the wall of derivative. They just barely have enough money every day to be able to open up their doors legally. But I'm telling you, it's not going to be much longer before they realize today we can't open our doors because somebody pulled out the difference between, that margin that we had to open today. So we're that close.
Well, I mean, everybody realizes what happened last year with all the savings, all the banks on the tied to the technology-based companies or banks on the West Coast. Everybody, I mean, maybe you don't remember, but it was just last year that happened. And some of the things, if they have another, what you're talking about, possibly a run on the bank, whereas when you put your money with the life insurance company, they have to account for it 2 to 1, and they have to have stronger cash value because, and they're way more conservative with your money as far as that's concerned, but they account and keep more money on the books. So that's important for you to know how strong these companies are. And we open it up. If you would like to look at your numbers, just go to my website, www.michellemorar.com, or you can call me at 336-541-6670, and we can take a look at it, and you can see without having to make any, what would you say, Peter? You don't have to make a decision right then. You can look at your numbers and see if you like it. It's up to you if you like it and want to pursue this. It's not about it's totally about you having the financial freedom to retire when you want to retire and to be totally out of debt. That's important.
Well, and tying it back together, what I was saying earlier, where were you 10 years ago? Were you in debt 10 years ago? Are you doing the same things today that you were doing 10 years ago? Maybe it's time to stop practicing insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results somehow. It's all going to change overnight, and start creating new habits and exploring new options. And that's what we want to encourage people to do. Take time to become educated on what you can do to decide what is best for you. We're not saying that our solution is a be all, end all, fits all, but it will help a lot of people. And if you will take time to understand how it works, and why we're using it, I think you'll find that it meets your goals and objectives far better than any other financial tool that we have found at this point.
Well, how about let's talk about just 1 minute. Who are the ideal people that are looking at something like this? Who would be the ideal people? Obviously, you're going to have some type of debt that you want to get out of, I would assume, correct?
Correct.
And there's an age that we like to look at since we're dealing with the financial product of a whole life policy.
We're working with working age people. So if you are, you know,
But you can
technically,
do people that are a little bit older as well, correct?
yes, yes.
But that's why we say come to us, let us look at it, and we'll see what the deal is. Because until we have your numbers, we don't know what your situation is. That's where we can help you, though.
Well, I appreciate it, Michelle. This has been great to work together, and I do enjoy this. I think this is going to go well. I hope that people are listening. I hope that you get a good response with people find out that you have this opportunity and you can really help them. And now's the time to not hold back. Michelle is not going to think of any differently of you when you share the information with her. It's not going to pop a bubble. And if you tell her no, I'm pretty sure it's not going to hurt her feelings either. She's a big girl.
I've been told no enough.
So I really want people to listen to what was said today, and I hope that they get out of this that there are options. You don't have to be completely depressed. Let's just look at what those options are and see if it can help you.
Absolutely.
Well, and signing off today, I want to thank everybody that joined us, and I want to thank everybody for your time. And if you can, do reach out to Michelle and connect with her and see how her debt process can help you pay off your debts 2 to 3 times faster and provide multiple benefits. I mean, she makes every dollar walk, skip, and jump at the same time. So you really want to work with her as much as you can to find out all the little tricks that she's learned through the years. And just want to thank you again. Have a good evening.
Thank you.